to him is the Georgianne Bender. She is the speaker, retail strategist, author, and consultant specializing in merchandising. Both of them are experienced in ripping apart stores and putting them back together, store makeovers, and visual merchandising. So, Georgianne, let's kick this off. Why is it so important that retailers get visual merchandising right?
Because visual merchandising creates the experience. It's an art and it's also a science. There are ways that you can set displays that cause people to spend more money, which is a good thing. But a lot of companies spend their money getting the decor right. Is the wall right? Who cares what color the ceiling is? What kind of fixtures do I have? Those things are important, but the way you set those individual displays throughout the store, each one of them tells a story of who you are as a retailer. It talks about your brand, and that's what hooks people in. If you get that wrong, if you're just putting merchandise on a shelf and going, that look good, I put some stuff out, you're missing the entire point of retailing. What do you think, Bob?
I think you're totally wrong. I would agree. I think the reason why you merchandise a store is because the only reason people go to a brick and mortar store is discovery.
Yeah.
And without discovery, you're not going to sell them anything. We've all been to that. Oh, I'll check the app. So let's say you go to Nordstrom, you're looking for shirts. Like, oh, I'm in doom scrolling now on page 853 of plaid shirts. If I saw, let's say, a baby stroller there, I'd be like, what the hell is this? But if I was in a store and I was looking at shirts and I looked over and saw a new baby stroller, I'd be like, maybe I need a new baby stroller. That's the whole point. That nobody can duplicate that in a online shop, and that's what I think. Merchandising either gets it right and gets your eyes, or it gets it wrong and we look past it, right?
Exactly, because no one can. You could have the greatest product in the history of man, and if it's just thrown on a table, folded on a table, there's no life, there's no story, there's no props, there's no cross merchandising. What's the point? Because there isn't.
Shouldn't products sell themselves?
No product sells itself except water.
There you go. Visual merchandising is what sells product when there is not a salesperson around to help.
And I think we've had so many people who didn't grow up with visual merchandising. And even in some of the larger retailers I talked to, they said, we thought we were past this now. We thought we would have been elevating what we've been doing. But unfortunately, what's happened is we've lost a lot of our institutional knowledge, and they have to go back to basics about how and why. Certainly you can look at an anthropology and say, these people are amazing. And they are amazing, but they also have the idea that we're going to give you enough props that you can then come up with your version of this window and not a planogram, which is actually where Georgianne started with right, making stores all look the same. And that has changed, I think.
It did not.
Tell them where you started, though. You started, right?
I started at T.A. Chapman and Company in Milwaukee. It was a family-owned 4-store department store chain, and I started out managing ladies' coats and suits and moved on to moving the store around and followed a path from there to the Gap, where I got my first store and I relayed the floor and sales went crazy. And Don Fisher came from California and he went, "What are you doing?" And I went, I got nothing. I don't know what I did or why I did it, but that's where then I got a job in a corporation doing director of visual merchandising and did planograms. So, and I hate planograms. Maybe they're okay for a hardware store that needs to show you how to put out a specific, kind of pegged item. But planograms kill visual merchandising because they kill the art. And every store looks the same.
Which isn't bad if it's all been thought out meticulously. I don't have a problem with that. If I'm going into Denver and the store looks the same as New York, as long as you're doing a great job, I think that would be great. I think everyone is now led with. I remember being in a retail, speech one time, and it was marketers, and they said, "This is the kind of stuff that we'd love to do," and there was amazing, beautiful point of purchase things, and you were just like, "This is amazing ads," and they're like, "Yeah, and now look what we really do: tuna for $1, $3.99," and they talked about how the creativity of it was being dampened into the price, and I think that's all we're seeing, especially in the larger retailers. It's all about price, but frankly, you can pay too little for stuff too. As a young guy, I bought flannel shirts, 3 for $14.99, let's say. Great, and you wash it once and it fits your dog. So I think that educating of the consumer has to happen not only at the salesperson level, but also when you're merchandising, because yeah, I can do a Birkin bag and it's all by itself and it's 30 grand. But if you don't understand why that's luxury versus 2 for 1, then you merchandise all stores by being cheaper. And I think that market is continuing to shrink because people do have money in spite of everyone who's trying to talk is in a recession. And we've got to be cognizant that you've got to flirt with me if I'm going to pick you up.
Oh, exactly.
Right?
You got.
I mean,
that's
literally
a great.
flirt with, just so we
There's a T-shirt. You got to flirt with me. I was in New York City 2 weeks ago, and I went to Bergdorf, which is was my mother's store when I was a kid. And you know what? I love that store. I love their visual merchandising. I love how they put their displays together. I love their clothing. I can fit one leg in their clothing because they only go up to a size 8, which is really a 6, and that's a shame. But even though nobody talked to me, the merchandise did. And it was, I need that. I need merchandise to flirt with me rather than, it just being there. And I think, so many stores that we go into now, they're just the same old, same old. Take the name off the front of the building and put somebody in an apparel stores in a mall. Put somebody else's on there. Where's the creativity? Not there.
Rich Hernandez is asking a question. What's your opinion on electronic boards? That's a lot of electronic in one sentence, my friend. It's funny, Rich. I was in a Nordstrom probably 2 years ago. I think it was in Vegas, and in the men's department, and they must have dropped in 8 digital displays, like just board in the ceiling and drop it down. And these random displays were all lifestyle, right? So it's over like Quicksilver, and we're at the beach, and then there'd be something else. And all I kept thinking was, all this distraction is taking my eyes off your merch.
Right.
And they were gone within probably 2 months, and I have not seen them. I'm doing a makeover right now. And yeah, we're going to put in some retail media network on a limited idea. But of course, you'd be silly not to, because frankly, who wants to go through and print out graphics and try to slap them up somewhere and say take down date and all other nonsense when you can control it? But I'm sure, Georgianne, you have an opinion about digital displays.
I mean, I think for like years on Retail Wire, we talked about the latest electronic digital experience inside the store. That's great. But I agree with you. We put up all these, signs, and half the time they don't match the merchandise because they are out of date, but they haven't been changed, and they're showing merchandise that's not available in the store, or, that's great. Use it as an add-on, as a signing, sell the product, but set your displays. Take the time, spend your money on salespeople who can go into your store and actually move things around and fluff the merchandise and make it look good and zhuzh your displays so that there's more of an interaction with customers instead of me going, look at that sign, that's cool. Where's the shirts? Because that's what's happening. I think in stores, we've taken the focus off of visual merchandising.
I think it's interesting. A while back, there was a frenzy in department stores that they were, at least in the menswear, I don't know about women's, but all the men's pants were in one area. And then you'd have all the dress shirts in one area. And on the one side, I could see somebody going like, but this will really simplify it, because if you're looking for pants, they're all right here. And I'm like, that makes total sense, except it looks terrible in a retail store. And people go in to buy an outfit, or they go in to be wowed by something else. Right. And if we keep focusing on getting in and out quickly, then I think we give up what makes a brick and mortar space special. Because if you really want something quick, you go on Amazon, I want 3 white t-shirts. Cool. Great. But someone who's willing to take the time and get in the car and go through traffic, especially, and find a parking lot and roll the dice that someone's gonna be nice when they walk in the door, and they're met with that same 2 for $10 or this other ridiculous thing also, it cheapens it. You have squandered the very interest we had in going to it. And just a very quick case in point, we're reading just yesterday how movie theaters are almost back to 2019. And what does that tell you about all the doom and gloom sayers? Oh, no one will ever go back. Once the masks are down, no one will go. Yes, because we had Barbie and we had Oppenheimer, and suddenly content rules. And I think that's visual merchandising. That I don't care you have a black dress or a black suit. How you get me to consider that when I probably have it in my closet, that's where the real work happens. Right, Georgianne?
So, okay, so I'm going to go back to what you just said. The shirts are in one place and the pants are in the other place. And I just experienced that when I went into a Nordstrom store last week. Here's the thing. There was a study that was done, and I can't remember who did it, but I've lived by it forever. And it is that 50% of your sales floor is never seen by customers, because a lot of them come in to buy a specific thing. So in your example, Bob, I'm coming in to buy a pair of pants. I'm not going to look at the shirts. That's why when you're laying your sales floor out, you have to create and create the situation and control how they shop, which means if you want me to buy a pair of pants and a shirt and a jacket and whatever, you have to merchandise them together. You have to make sure that the way you set your fixtures and how you set your displays cause me to walk past that merchandise instead of just going, well, I'm going to the kids department because I need something for my grandson and I'm not going to look at anything else. That's just putting stuff out.
Well, even if they say that, that's where you trick them at the elevators, like Saks in New York City. I don't know, a few months ago, they right by the elevators just had this great display of guys with umbrellas holding umbrellas, and they had storms on their digital displays. And I was like, "You caught me, damn it! You caught me. I'm considering buying an umbrella or a raincoat, and I'm here in sportswear in the summer." And that's the whole point. When I put it up on LinkedIn, the visual merchandiser wrote back. He's like, "Thanks, that was my idea," and I got some flack. It's like, dude, you're creative. I guess that's where I also go back. That we hear everybody saying, "Oh, we need everybody to be empowered, and we need people to feel like they're valued." Well, if you can empower them on the sales floor to try things, and I think we got to answer Scott Benedict's question of what specifically defines good and great visual merchandising. But if we can empower those people, you're pretty much left with let's make a deal. And sorry, that program went off the air for a reason, and yet we are stuck to it like glue that we can't change. And not everybody wants to be a Kohl's or a TJ Maxx. Would you agree, Georgianne?
Oh, who wants to be a Kohl's or a TJ Maxx? Come on. Or, and in the independent side, I don't know, somebody's talking about drinking Kool-Aid. I don't know who's taught independent boutiques, ladies boutique retailers. I don't know who's convinced them that white and shades of cream and brown and cowboy boots and influencer hats are the hottest thing on the planet, because that's all they've had in their stores for the last 2 years. Never see anybody wearing them, but that's all they have in their stores. Okay.
Because they have great reps.
Huh?
Because they have great reps telling them this is the next thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think makes good or great visual merchandising?
Okay, read my blog. What do I think makes good, great visual merchandising? Well, as we said in the beginning, it's an art and it's a science. And there are specific techniques that you can follow. If you're setting a display, for example, I think Bob, you'll agree with me, you want some height in the center to cause the eye to look up and down as well as forward. You want to use props. You always talk about put a pig in a display or a stuffed animal, which is, you're not doing that to put a pig there. You're doing it because that is getting people's attention. You can set your displays to the power of 3. There's something about the number 3 that causes people to look more at displays when merchandise is grouped in 3s. There's a million things, Scott, that make good or great visual merchandising. And what you have to do is look at them all and put them together and use the techniques that you can on different, on the different fixtures and displays that you have in your store. Good visual merchandising makes the fixture disappear. If the customer sees the fixture before they see your product, fixture's not doing its job.
Yeah, I would say what makes great visual merchandising is the merch sells. Visual merchandise is someone pauses.
Exactly. Yes.
People are walking by all the time. You probably didn't do it. So there's a disquieting trend that was in mannequins for a while with women with their mouths open, that kind of, and it's like, that was interesting, but we want to see ourselves. And that's where it all comes down. You want them to actually be able to pick it up. Nothing frustrates me more than signs that like, don't touch the mannequins, or on the piano, don't play the piano. You're like, what the hell are you thinking? Of course you want them to take it, right?
Or you see the ladies, I saw this in H&M in Vegas a couple of months ago. You see the ladies tearing apart a display because they can't find the price. So they're literally undressing the mannequins and turning things over because they can't find the price. That's a
great point. And I think, again, the art of it. Look, I didn't go to college. I went to college. I didn't go to college for visual merchandising. I started in shoe stores, and you learn that if you put the arch one way, it sells better than if you do it the other way. And if you if you add some height to it and you add some props, the stuff sells. But you also have people to be able to understand that the reason you're doing this is to sell a package of items. So having that first, one of the things I teach everybody, and you're going to do a display window, go out front, take a Post-it or a pen and mark right where your eye is. That should be the first place that we see. But people don't do it. It's like, oh, well, we'll just put a big banner behind the window. You're like, that's the worst because people can't see in. People are attracted by seeing other people. So when you block the whole thing and now you've got some strange, distracting display, you didn't really think about it. So the other thing I would say is when you go to a big, I don't care who it is, you can learn from good and bad, right? So just start to figure out, can I figure out what this designer was thinking when they put it together? Because a lot of times you'll go, oh, I get it. Okay, that's what we're doing. Or other times you're just like, yeah, they just threw up on it and they have no idea.
Vomit merchandising. Familiar with that? This past July, Rich and I did a makeover of a 10,000 square foot fabric and sewing machine store, and doing really well. When you walked in the front door, immediately what you saw was their checkout counter, and it was maybe 40 feet long. This giant checkout counter, which, it was about 15 feet in, so there was still space to walk in, but there's this giant barrier to keep you from the rest of the store. So the first thing we did was tear that apart and stick it on the right side of the store in the decompression zone so that it didn't take away from the lakefront property on the right side of the store. It's amazing how people build stores and they don't think about what has to go where and what's going to work best. And you talk about windows. The study is the average customer takes 8 seconds or less to look at your window. And if you don't pull them in 8 seconds or less, they don't care. And I agree. If you're not putting things at eye level, Christmas is coming. So we will see door displays that have and I'm not talking about like Saks and Macy's and stores like that, but we'll see other retailers. They put so many things in the window that there's nothing to focus on. It's not telling a story. There's no point to that window. So there is a strategy that you have to follow.
Well, the point is I need to put as much in the window to get them to come in. And you're like, yeah, but that doesn't bring me in, because suddenly shopping feels like work. I think, to go back to what you asked before, Rich, great merchandising should feel like, say, merchandiser store. I had no idea. I just know I like the stuff. It feels like my store. I feel like I'm shopping in my girlfriend's closet. I feel like I'm with my buddy. That's right. What it should feel. If you know your customer well enough, then I think it should feel that way.
So there's this thing that we call the Target syndrome. And I'm sure that most of us have done this. I know I do it every single time I go to Target. But we have a newly remodeled Target, so there's lots of displays now that are really well done. Nice fixtures, really well done. But a lot of it still is this big vanilla box that has great signs. But yet I might go in there to buy Windex, and I will come out with a cartload of product. And I do that because of how they move me through the store, how they get me to stop at certain displays, and how they set displays that make me, I don't need that. Do I need that? I need that. And I put it in the cart. Especially those areas that they're doing now, with like Joanna Gaines and some of the other ones. Simple things that sell product. When there's no salespeople in that store, so that there are, but not that focus on selling you things like you would expect to find at Nordstrom. But
even there's not a given. Brian Cluster is asking, what are your thoughts on augmented reality and brick and mortar to help customers imagine how different colors and prints would look? I mean, hey, it's something. I'm not a big fan of digital mirrors. I'm not a fan of, when I was I was looking at the Chase, like, open our app, you'll see it in your house. And you're like, you've just taken that chair with no background and stuck it on my picture. And that, I already got that. I got a better picture in my mind, but the reality is no sale is complete until it's on our body. So this idea that you're going to have a virtual mirror is a step, but I would rather get you in the fitting room, because 70% of the sales will happen in a fitting room. And, I was at a luxury association not that long ago in Manhattan, and they were talking about this woman had bought a dress from, I don't know, Prada or something. And she's a young, thin young woman. And she buys, she said, I bought the 5. And you know what they did? They said a 7 and a 3. And I was like, oh, isn't that great customer service? I go, ridiculous, because if you tried the 5 and it fit, you'd still try on the 3, like maybe stretch it out a little, maybe a little makeup or something, and you'll try on the other one. And now all of that comes back. And that's the other problem, that if you don't get it right in the consumer, every time someone touches it, you're losing margin. That's what a great display helps us see. That's why a great person, try it on with the belt, with the shoes, whatever it's going to be, play with the iPhone and get the camera, whatever, but don't leave them on their own because they don't know what you know.
Right. And we don't, and salespeople know, who work in stores know better than I do. They can take one look at my body and know what's going to fit me better and how I should accessorize. And I want to go to augmented reality. I don't think customers care. I think we think it's great. Not me personally, but on Retail Wire, we think it's great. Let's do the augmented reality. I can do that. No. I'm in your store to buy merchandise. I'm not in your store to play a video game at the cosmetics counter. So, and I
try it on, Georgina. You don't have to try it on. You could just walk up to it and you'd see it.
Right. So I don't know.
I'm curious, have you seen other technology trends pop up over the years that, oh, this is going to be the next big thing, and it fizzles?
You think magic mirrors new? Macy's had a magic mirror in 2010. None of this stuff is new. It's rehashed and made better because technology is better. But, if it was really that great 13 years ago, you'd see it in stores.
Beacons was the big thing 10 years ago. Oh, we're going to let shoppers come in, and as soon as they come in, we'll be able to greet them by their name. And that was short-lived, that people would open their app and the stranger comes up to Georgianne. Hey, Georgianne, how'd you like that last red outfit you had on? Like, what creepy world do you think that was ever going to be acceptable? And nowadays, we haven't seen any of that, which is why I think we're seeing a resurgence in people suddenly realizing, stores matter, merchandising matters, and the people in our stores matter. That if you're going to pay $15, $18 for a starting wage, then you realize I've got to do something else to keep them, because otherwise you've got these young people who are hopeful and educated, and you put them on your sales floor, and it's like a time machine back. And now just wait for other people to come in.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find ways to engage them. And visual merchandising can be a great way to do it.
I want to add something to that. Last week, I was tweeting about this. I'm in Nordstrom, and I'm in the shoe department, and I'm looking at really nice shoes. And the salesman comes up, and he's got on jeans, sneakers, a shirt from The Sopranos with a couple of gold chains. That's a good look for you, buddy, on your time off. But if I'm looking at shoes that are $300, I want someone who dresses well. I don't want to go up to the ladies' clothing department, as also happened, and buy a dress from someone who's wearing flip-flops and jeans with holes in them. So, this whole throwing the dress code out the window, people who work in your store are living, breathing representatives of your brand. And they're going to sell merchandise. And I'm not buying your flip-flops from you if I'm looking at a cocktail dress that I need to wear to a black tie wedding, which is what I happen to be looking at in Nordstrom that day.
I get it. We're older. That's part of it as well. It's a generational thing, because they could be you go into some of the designer luxury things, and it is all about being ripped apart and all of that. And if I knew the brand, I might be impressed. But for others of us, it just looks sloppy. And I can certainly see that. Hoodies in Congress, very nice, John. I like that.
You remember when President Obama was president and some girls' hockey team wore flip-flops to the White House and the world went crazy? And times are changed. But you know what? If you want me to buy something nice, I need the salesperson to reflect that. I'm sorry, Chase.
Georgianne, I experienced that firsthand in a Dillard's department store, and I needed a dress shirt for a conference, and I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't know the brands. And I walked in, the guy knew that I didn't know what I was looking for, and he goes, here, he grabs the first shirt. He goes, this one will fit. Yep. He looks at my neck, looks at the size, he goes, this is a good brand. It's got a little nice, he points out one nice thing about, the button is this unique shape. And I just knew it. His confidence, he dressed the part. He was wearing the nice shoes. He had the nice shirt. He was in that department. And I don't know if he was really, sorting and folding things, but he looked like he was just tending to every table. And I bought that shirt. I didn't, no trying it on, nothing. Just
Oh, I think what you point to is, look, when you're training employees, it's about confidence. You've got to train people who are confident. In the old days, this would be the hero. This product has this and this and this. Who gives a crap? I'm walking in a kryptonite world. I want to be a hero. Show me how this fits on my the hero's belt, and only heroes sell to heroes. So if you can't bring them up, from being caught up in their little digital world, if you can't get them up to that same level, the merch is going to sit. And then it's even more important that your visual merchandising not only is created well, but it changes regularly, because otherwise I think you just squander the opportunity.
We do have another question about merging that digital experience. Everyone's trying to do e-commerce and try to figure out how do we merge these two channels. With a surge in online shopping during Q4, how can you create a visual merchandising strategy that seamlessly integrates with the digital experience while maintaining a strong in-store presence?
So your website has to look like your store. If I'm going to think of Pottery Barn. So Pottery Barn, when I go to their website, they're showing me displays like I would see in their store. And I'm showing a Thanksgiving table set, and I click on it, and then I see the pieces. I'm seeing a fabulous couch, that's all decorated for Christmas, and I click on that and I see the pieces, as opposed to I go to another website, go to Macy's website, and there's all these little tiny boxes of things. So the online experience should match what I'm going to see when I'm in the store, and that's going to help the online experience. And it probably will get more people into your store, but I don't know. That's my statement on that, Bob. I think they need to match somewhat.
I think the idea of we have to make them into one thing. Yeah, everyone's trying to come up with that one shopping cart that comes around with us. It's with us online, etc. But I think the reality is, like, why isn't live stream shopping working in the U.S.? Because I'm not going to set my schedule to watch an influencer sell me something. I think that the whole idea comes down to understand that if I want something, I need a new HP 534 printer cartridge. I'm going to order that online, and I just want to find it. That's all I need is that. But if I go into your Staples and I have to walk up to the counter with this little scrunchie of sacred keys to unlock the $30 printer cable cartridge, and I walk in there and that's all you think I'm there, then shame on you. Because I walked in there to discover something else, and if you didn't visually merchandise it, if it's just paper for $3.99 or something, I'm probably not going to buy it. So for all of you who are watching, but all that same idea is that the opportunity in brick and mortar is really yours to lose. That's what my thing is, that if you don't visually merchandise them and you don't teach your crew, if a crew is just a line item expense, then you're going to get what you get. And if you follow Neil Saunders on LinkedIn, you'll see it every hour or two about what he finds. But he's documenting just how many opportunities they are to just get to average. Yeah. Right? If you could just get to average, you'd be there. But those who can excel and those who consistently deliver it, understand, the last thing I'll say, Georgianne, is retail's a game of being brilliant on the basics. You can't be brilliant on the basics, try something else, because it's not a game of new and improved and widget and all that. At the end of the day, it's people communicating with other people. That's where it was the original Sook. Travelers came there, shared their stories, took something home. Same thing in modern if you're looking for the great brands that are going to kill it.
Yeah. And to go along with those fabulously trained salespeople, associates who are in the store who are going to help me find everything that I want in a brick and mortar store, it's tougher for them to do that if the store is not merchandised well. And retailers have a wealth of opportunity with the people who work in their stores to allow them to, planograms are great. Somebody said this, planograms are a great guide. They're going to show me how to do it. But you know what? In a clothing store, in the Gap that now has planograms, follow it for the basics, but let the people who work in the stores use the outfits, put the outfits together, use both of them hand in hand. And that's what makes a great store. Fun place to be, easy to shop.
No better way to end the call. This has been so insightful. Thank you both for being here. We're doing another one tomorrow, but I think we should do something more next month on this topic. There's so much to say. Thanks again. Thanks to everyone listening, and we'll see you next time.